Hello everybody. Today I want to make a video about the difference between men and women when it comes to sex. I think that we don't talk about this enough. So women are very confused about how men behave sexually because they're not anything like us. And men are very confused about women, how women behave sexually because we're not anything like you. And men have the idea if women didn't have all these standards, they could get a lot more sex. And women think if men could just understand us better and give us the kind of sex we want, we would have more sex. So this is me as having worked with men, having been an escort for many, many years, having been married, and just thinking about these topics for many years, having read new books like this that have come out where women are actually talking about how hookup culture is not benefiting us, listening to manosphere videos, hearing comments that people are leaving for me. I just made up a little list of differences between men and women that just popped in my head. Now, let's talk about men first. Let's talk about feeling safe. Men see women as these beautiful creatures that they just want to touch, and they're very visual, and they see a breast or hips walking, and they get horny and they want to stick their dick in, pretty much, because the woman what they don't realize is that they see this woman as a beautiful object to conquer. They don't know her. They don't care about her. They just want to touch her. The same way I might want to pet a cat. It's not threatening at all. There's no safety risk. Whereas a woman, when I see a man, I instinctively see somebody bigger, stronger, and I know this person can hurt me instinctively. Not that men have ever hurt me, but we as women know. Actually, most men can actually break a woman's neck with their hands. But they can, I don't know, maybe it's because we grow up hearing about, the violence that men can do, but is this man safe? That's the first thing I want to know. A man never has to worry about whether this woman is safe. Yeah, I don't think you guys think about that. I've heard talks where they say, they ask women how many times they worry about their physical safety throughout the day, and it's usually many times. I'm not that way, but I'm like, do I feel safe with you? Are you even attractive? Because if you're not attractive, but see, men find most women attractive because women are beauty objects. I forgot to add that to my list. Okay, let's continue with safety. A woman instinctively has a high risk during a sexual encounter with a man. She has a very high risk of pregnancy and a much higher risk of getting an STD than a man does. A man doesn't have any of those concerns. Okay? None of those concerns. He doesn't have to worry about getting pregnant, maybe needing an abortion, being stuck with a child, pregnancy, childbirth, none of that. There's no risk for the man. A man has a Y chromosome, which makes his body completely different, and men have bigger brains, but with less connections between both hemispheres, more muscles, bigger lungs, and then the testosterone also makes them have a much higher libido. It gives them the desire to compete, to challenge themselves, to go out into the world, to be adventurers. It also gives them energy, but it also makes them have a very high libido. So young men especially have a much higher libido. It can wane with age, but and the way that nature designed men is that men were designed not just to be horny, but to have that need to release. I don't know what that's like, but men have a need to release, like a fullness in their balls, like they have to release. and couple that with their desire for women. They want to release with a woman, in a woman, on a woman, with a woman. They're attracted to women. Women are beautiful, safe, and they have that need to release. So it all comes together into, I want to slide my dick in that pussy. I want to touch those breasts. Women are beauty objects. You know, it all comes together like that. But we as women don't have a need to release. We get horny, but the majority of women, when they get horny, they're not thinking about riding a dick. They're thinking about, they'll just masturbate, because they're going to come from masturbating easier than they are going to come from penetration. So for a woman, her sexual desire will be ignited in a new relationship. For the first couple years, a woman's sexual desire in a relationship will be very strong, and it'll be heightened by her feelings for a man. Not his visuals so much, but how she feels about him based on how he treats her. It's more emotional. And so a woman doesn't need an orgasm during sex. She wants to feel emotionally connected, emotionally bonded. It's more about what she's feeling during sex. Getting lost, how turned on she is. And sure, she may want an orgasm too, but she doesn't need one every time. We don't have that need to release. After a man releases or ejaculates, I think there's a hormone called vasopressin that's released, but a man will get very relaxed. And while he's in this turned on phase, he's very focused on his release and being with that woman and the release part. And as soon as he releases, it's almost like a part of a man's brain shuts off when he's horny. This is what I really think happens. They get so horny, they're like, I gotta get laid now, I gotta get in that pussy, I gotta release. To varying degrees with different men, but that's kind of the energy I need to release. And then once he releases, his whole brain comes online, and all of a sudden he's like, oh my God, what am I doing with this woman right here, right now? I got to get the hell out of here. Or I need to get up and go to work. I need to go take a shower. His interest in the woman will be gone. So this is the thing. While he's in this turned on, need to release phase, and he's really hard, he will be really attuned to the woman and really into the woman, and the woman will think, oh, this guy really likes me, but it's not. It's his cock. And once he releases, his interest in her is gone, okay, because it was always about his need to release. Whereas a woman, if she's really into you, is coming from that emotional state, and after she has her orgasm, she's going to be just as interested in you as before. Unless you sucked in bed, maybe. I don't know. And after a woman comes, she might feel, I don't know, it depends on the woman. Some women might feel snugglier, especially if she's in love with you. I'm not that way at all. Like, we don't have a vasopressin release. We just feel like, you know, we can continue. Like, it doesn't make our body go into this relaxation mode. After a man releases, he will feel very relaxed, and he will really feel like talking. He will be a little softer, a little closer, unless he's uncomfortable with intimacy, in which case he will just have to get out of there. But otherwise, he really enjoys talking after his release. That's typical for most men. Whereas for a woman, a release happened and we just go on, you know. Maybe she doesn't want to be touched in the area where it's more sensitive now, but it doesn't change her energy or her mindset. She doesn't have to roll over and go to sleep. She doesn't feel depleted. She doesn't feel more relaxed, at least speaking for myself. So it's a very different experience. And I have very powerful orgasms, but it doesn't make me feel closer to the man. You know, it doesn't make me feel more bonded to him. It doesn't make me want to roll over and go to sleep. What makes me feel more bonded to him, of course, I'm just like, haven't been in a relationship in a long time. What makes me feel more bonded is kind of the way we are together. It's not because I had an orgasm. That's for me, though. Selectivity. A man, because of that high libido, his selectivity is really low. He might want to fuck a woman who's a 10, but he will fuck the 4 if that's all he can get. Again, I'm not speaking of all men, but this is more likely for a man. Whereas a woman, she may want to fuck the 10, but if she can't get the 10, she's not going to fuck the 4. Okay, she's not going to fuck the overweight, smelly janitor. If she's looking for, the professional corporate guy, she's not going to fuck the other guy because she couldn't get that guy because she's so horny. That doesn't happen. She will just not fuck at all because women are very selective for the reasons I mentioned before. Safety, STD risk, emotional connection, and that has to go with sexual pleasure. A man in a hookup is pretty much going to come. It's very easy for a man to come. His penis gets hard. It needs a little bit of friction, and off we go. It's very easy. That's why you see all these ladies who do massages with happy endings. A man can get a massage, roll over, have his dick stroke, there it goes, and he's released and he's happy. Women don't go for massages with happy endings. Have you ever thought about why? You might say they don't have to, but why don't they have to? Again, selectivity, how they want to come. When I was going out with lesbians, they're very emotional. It's never just like we're going to hook up and that's it. There was always a lunch and a dinner and an overnight and a lot of texting. Even this very hot lesbian that I hooked up with, there was a dinner and there was a sleepover each time. And then she didn't want to hear from me for, however many weeks. A woman's sexual pleasure, her ability, her ease of sexual pleasure is low. For a woman to experience an orgasm, and I'm not even saying that's the greatest pleasure. For me, the greatest pleasure during sex is the emotional part. I can give myself a better orgasm than any man can, okay? But if he wants to, assist me with that, fine. Of course, I do like the fucking, I have to admit. And I can't fuck myself the way a man can and his energy and his power. But that's all the emotional part, a lot of it too. But my ability as a woman to feel sexual pleasure, it's not as easy as for a man. I need certain things to get turned on. A woman is not going to be dripping wet because she saw a penis or a picture of a penis. It's how you treat us, how we feel about you. Do I feel safe? Do I trust you? Am I attracted to you? How are you touching me? Are you all rough and gropey? Because our genitalia are very different than a man, and a man is used to tight grip on his penis. But if you start rubbing us tight, hard like that, it's going to hurt. You have to start out more slowly, more gently. Our body response, that would be a different video, is completely different. And giving us a quickie is not going to be any good. If you want to open a woman's whole orgasmic potential, you have to spend an hour at least in bed with her. At least. And a lot of warm up, a lot of foreplay during the day. So our ease of sexual pleasure is low. We need more things to line up to be able to shut off our mind, get in our body, and just be very present and really enjoy it. And that's why I would say most women will say that most men suck in bed because they don't have that skill set. And that skill set on the part of a man requires him to have empathy, be in touch with his own feelings so he can tune into her body and her feelings, have good physical strength so he can maintain his erection and his attention and his physicality for a sexual encounter that lasts at least 30 or 45 minutes on most occasions. And that gives space for the woman to feel her full sexual pleasure. So in a hookup situation, the majority of women are not going to enjoy it very much. They're not going to have an orgasm. They're not going to feel emotionally satisfied. And so that's why hookups for women are not as good as they are for men. The more a woman feels loved and safe and excited, it's going to help. Unless, of course, she's in a long-term relationship where the boredom sets in, or she's resentful, and she doesn't feel attracted to her partner because he's a doormat, or he's a people pleaser, or he's neglectful. So all these emotional parts come in for the woman, and the man doesn't have that. He's like, I'm horny, let's fuck. I don't care. I haven't asked you on a date in 4 months, but I'm horny. It's gonna feel good. Want to feel good? And the woman be like, no, fuck you. Get the fuck away from me, because you've ignored me and you only touch me when you want to slide your dick in. Sorry. Okay? I'm just trying to explain it. So men have a thing called spontaneous libido, and women have a thing called responsive libido, unless it's a new relationship or the woman is like super horny while she's ovulating or something. But in general, a man will just get hard just because he wakes up hard or he sees a woman walking by. But a woman's libido, especially in a longer term relationship, is going to be more responsive to how he treats her, responsive to her, to their relationship. Not all women. I actually have a healthy libido myself, and for me, my libido is how I check into my health. If I lose my libido, I start asking why. Is it something about my health? Is it something about how I'm allowing someone to touch me, or who I'm with? Why has my libido? My libido is a chance for me to check into my health as a woman, as a human. So I don't think that women's libido has to be responsive, but it more often will tend to be, especially when women are stressed. A man who is stressed will still want to have sex because he wants to release, and it helps him relax with that vasopressin. A woman who's stressed does not want to have sex. She has to be relaxed first, emotionally relaxed and open. That's where a man can start like giving a massage, pouring a glass of wine, being a little flirtatious, to kind of get her relaxed and open up. And the last one, the short-term mating, hooking up. A man is much more likely to enjoy that than a woman. Again, not all men, but more likely. This is why men will visit prostitutes, dominatrixes, tantra practitioners, sensual massage therapists. They will look for hookups. They're on dating sites looking for hookups, whereas a woman is generally looking for a relationship. She's not going to have the same pleasure in a hookup, and that's why generally women don't hook up. Although we are in this hookup culture, but there's a backlash, and women are writing these books now like hookup culture has not served us well. So with that said, I think it's good that we understand how we're different, and if men and women want to have more sex, then men need to understand what makes women want to have sex with you, because otherwise you pretty much have to force yourself on a woman, or get a woman who is just laying there to do you a favor, which some men are okay with. Their wife just laying there to do them a favor, or giving them duty sex or pity sex. And a lot of men don't care if a woman's just laying there looking at the ceiling, praying it'll be over soon, or if the sex is hurting her. I forgot to mention that your penis can hurt us if we're not warmed up, or if you're really long, or the angle of the cervix isn't right. Like, your penis can hurt us. I've never heard of a vagina hurting a man. So for all of these reasons, I want to say that we are the more vulnerable sex. And while I think in a relationship it's so important for women to understand that the man really needs sex, but at the same time, and of course assuming that the woman is kind and loving and wants to nurture the relationship, but don't expect women to want to hook up. And if they do, don't expect them to enjoy it, to want to have orgasms. That's why I'm really encouraging people to be in relationships. I think the best sex is in relationships. That is the best way for a woman to have sex, for the man to have a lot of sex. And it breaks my heart that so many people these days don't want to be in relationships, because men are worried about marrying some woman who's going to take half of his money in a divorce a few years down the road. And women, a lot of women are kind of angry with men and saying like, we don't need men, and they're not attractive to men. Men want someone who's pretty, who's kind and warm and peaceful and who makes a home to come home to, but that's hard to do if the woman is working. And then who's going to raise the kids? I'm getting off on a tangent here, but if you're people in a relationship have to understand, men especially need to understand what will make a woman want to fuck you. And it's about the kind of man he's being. That's why I think men need to understand what builds attraction in women, and there are books on that. But also what makes a woman enjoy sex. And women have to learn what turns me on, what do I like, and communicate that to their partner. And sometimes you might want to go to therapy if you can't discuss it among yourselves. But we are so different when it comes to sex. But I will tell you this. If a woman is fucked really well by her partner that she loves, it's the most fabulous sex in the world. But they cannot be duplicated in a hookup. And a lot of things have to align for that to happen. But I think that we need to speak more about our differences and all of this pressure. It's not women who hook up are not liberated. Okay, they're sold a lie, because if you do hook up, I want you to think about how much you're enjoying it compared to how much the man is enjoying it. Are you really feeling fulfilled and happy from it? And what do you need to feel happy and fulfilled from sex? Because sex is not just another thing we do, like making a video. There's a lot, or even having like a friendship. There's a lot more involved. Getting people into our physical space, our emotional space, being accepting and kind and loving, and boundaries and consent. So I wanted to make a 5-minute video. I don't know how to make short videos. Again, the differences between men and women have to do with our concern for safety, our concern for pregnancy, STDs, a need to release, selectivity, the ease of sexual pleasure, and our differences in libido. We're very different when it comes to sex. But we can have really good sex, and that's why I think people need to be in relationships, and that's why I make a lot of videos about relationships, because that's where I think the best sex can happen. And thank you for watching my video. Please drop any tips you have or any other differences that you have that I neglected to mention or didn't know about or forgot about, that are the differences between men and women when it comes to sex. And thank you for watching my video.